All right. So, good day, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Tech-novation by BIS Research. I'm Jyoti Narayan, your host for today's session, and we are thrilled to kick off this LinkedIn and YouTube live series where we discuss the innovations driving the future of technology. Each episode will feature in depth insights from industry leaders, and today's conversation is particularly exciting as we will be diving into solid state batteries, which are powering the future of energy storage. For today's guest, we have Dr. Andre, who is a seasoned person in the industry with 20 plus years post PhD experience and has focused on lithium metal, lithium ion, and solid state battery R&D. He has led the solid state battery team at Tech, directing advanced high energy and safe solid state battery development. So he's an active thought leader. He regularly publishes on LinkedIn and has been at various conferences, and his blend of academic rigor and industrial insight positions him at the forefront of next generation battery commercialization. So, welcome, Dr. Andre, to our session today.
Thank you for your kind introduction. Hello to audience. Good afternoon, good evening, or maybe good morning for some of you.
Right. So, let's start with our discussion today. So, firstly, I wanted to focus on the various application areas within which we can see solid state batteries in the future. So, one of the areas which is evident is around electric vehicles. Now, how could solid state batteries benefit industries like drones and other advanced applications?
Yeah, I think the solid state batteries are very versatile. Are very versatile type of batteries. So we can have different solid state battery with different type of electrolytes, with different type of anodes, cathodes, etc. And of course, it means that these technologies chemistry are agnostic. So basically, it could be lithium based, sodium based, or other type of chemistry based. Yeah, and as a result, solid state batteries can be suitable not only for EV application or some more like traditional application, but also for some new emerging type of application like drones and, for example, robotics, etc. So first of all, what we are, if we are talking about drones, it's very, let's say, fast-growing application, and we see that drones not only like drones as small things, but also we can see some announcement about aero taxi in Dubai and other regions, and this is really amazing stuff, and that can be enabled only by high energy batteries. And here is the place of solid state batteries. So if we are talking about solid state batteries, normally we keep in mind, first of all, safety. That is very important for aerospace and air applications like drones or small aero taxis or even small aviation. No? That is rising now very fast, at least in Europe. We see movement towards hybrid aircrafts and fully electric aircrafts. And then in this connection, so what we can say that safety and high energy density, especially gravimetric energy density, can play a crucial role for implementation, but also durability of solid state batteries, cyclability or shelf life, because finally in solid state batteries what we have is that interfaces are more stable comparing to liquid systems, and then in this way we can gain some like years or number of cycles or like user cycles, etc. So then, in summary, I think at least I see very like good perspectives for solid state batteries in drones application and for aviation. Probably for space applications, it's not the time; it's too early. But again, in maybe in 10, 15 years, we will see some solid state batteries in space.
Sure. So, as a follow up on this, um, apart from the obvious benefits that we discussed just now, can the companies expect any performance trade offs when they are swapping lithium ion for solid state batteries in drones?
Yes. So, if I understood correctly your question, so basically, what is the point is that now we have lithium-ion batteries as main technology, and then if we will switch to solid-state batteries, why and how? No, so
Yeah.
first of all, of course, solid-state batteries should compete in cost. Because it cannot be 10 times more expensive than lithium ion. That's why people will not never select the solid state batteries. So the second point is manufacturing cost. So we can separate
Mm.
materials and manufacturing. No? So in both, currently for solid state batteries is sort of problem and should be solved. And of course, it can be solved with economy of scale, so at giga scale, etc. But also we should work on make all processes more efficient and all materials at least cheaper. Now, for example, in case of sulfide-based electrolytes, we observe a significant decreasing of price of this type of electrolytes because some companies start to produce like tons per year or dozens of tons per year, and then this push cost down. Another point is that supply chain. For example, if we are talking about lithium metal solid state batteries, and we know that lithium metal is big, let's say, story. And currently, according information that I have, for example, there is no enough lithium metal to foil or high quality anodes in order to produce all lithium metal cells that we can like imagine, no, for electrification of transport, for example, in Europe. So
Mm.
it's just we don't have this metal, and if we don't have lithium metal supply, only one element of cell, finally we cannot produce cells, and this is also problem uh, towards mass market application. Also, there is a clear, and we can understand this, a certain conservatism of the industry, because if one company invested in equipment and facilities for production of lithium ion cells or sodium ion cells, it's very difficult to convince them to invest the same or even more to build solid state battery plants. So in this case, possible solutions could be adapt as much as we can all processes to existing battery manufacturing facilities. And most important, like from philosophical point of view, I think it's very difficult. So there is not like magic stick that we can solve everything tomorrow. So we will do it step by step, and it's something that we should be ready that it will be stepwise improvement. I'm optimistic in this, but we cannot say that it will be tomorrow or in 3 years.
Right. So, from our side, I would like to share a data point with our audience today. So, within this figure, as you can see, hopefully, so if we compare, and look for the leading alternative battery chemistries and compare them to NMC type batteries, so we can see that solid state holds high, whether we are talking in terms of cell voltage or in terms of energy density, life cycle, and of course on safety also. So solid state emerges as a leading viable alternative for lithium ions. But of course, there are problems which are related to it for its mass production. So, if we talk about its mass production, so my next question is, what do you think are the key challenges which are preventing solid state batteries from replacing lithium ion batteries in mass market applications? And how soon do you think they can be resolved?
Yeah, this is what we commented in previous question. Maybe I combined it too, and I was a little bit ahead of the so in my thinking, but just bullet points. So we need to think about cost. This is first one. Second, assure supply chain. Then try to convince industry or make their life easier during adoption of solid state batteries, and of course have certain patience and don't push a lot and don't overpromise, as a few years ago was written in one article by Stan Whittingham. Stop the hype. No hype and steady development.
Right, right, all right. And if we talk about recent developments, so for instance, Toyota recently announced plans to commercialize solid state batteries in the next 3 to 4 years. So, how do you see this influencing other automakers and the overall EV market
Yeah.
adoption timeline?
Of course, any announcements from such big companies that are leading market in some car segments cannot be ignored by the industry, by competitors, and of course, as what we can see now, the electrification of transport is unstoppable. So the question is when it will happen. And then I think in my opinion, all OEMs or car manufacturers or developers thinking about introduction of new next generation batteries in their cars. And the question is depend on region. So maybe, for example, in Asia and US, companies more focused on sulfide based. In Europe, we are focused on maybe partially focused on polymer based electrolytes, or solid state battery with polymer based electrolytes. Or, for example, in China, we see a lot of movement about semi solid state batteries. But uh, independently of type of solid state batteries, I think all companies they are thinking, seeing these announcements from big players, they are thinking about like plan B, and
Right,
we see that many announcements from many end users, like as European and global and Chinese, that they are already using or they are in the stage of validation of technologies. For example, recently there was from some announcement from Stellantis group, etc.
right. So, so to showcase our audience today, so it's a snippet from uh, a database that we maintain. So herein we can see some of the announced plans from OEMs related to solid state battery utilization. So we discussed about Toyota, and Dr. Andre mentioned Stellantis. So we can see companies like Honda, Nissan, BMW, Volkswagen, and Mercedes Benz. All of them have plans, and all of these are planned for the next 3 to 4 years, at least at a low level volume or at a prototype volume. And we can foresee that around 2030, at the end of this decade, we can see a lot of these prototypes coming into commercialization stage.
Yeah.
So now I wanted to ask from the manufacturer point of view. So there are QuantumScape and other startups which have attracted significant investments, but traditional battery manufacturers still dominate production. So, will startups or established companies lead the commercialization for solid state batteries since it's still a niche segment of the overall battery technology? And why do you think so?
Um, I think role of startups is very important because startups they are challenging always the technologies and they want to find their place and we thanks to many startups now we have very disruptive technologies even in our daily life, etc. In,
Right.
in, in case of batteries, it's the same story because many technologies that we have now was implemented in batteries were born inside the startups, and some startups are very successful, like for example, QuantumScape and others. And but what we see is that in the commercialization, so startups are good for cell development or technology development, but then they need, in our opinion, like in my opinion, to join with big players that have possibility to um, long-term R&D programs, to funding of this kind of program, and have like long-term development strategy. Because, for example, new technologies, there is a cycle of like 7, 8, 10 years in the best case. But we should also consider that every technology should compete with existing technologies, gain the place on niche, and it's not easy. And during development of technology, not always this can be taken into account. But then, when it goes to more like to OEM hands or big company hands or end user, so then this technology should be adapted to concrete car model or concrete, I don't know, like electric aircraft model, etc. And for this, a role of OEM or end user is very important because they will commercialize this. And then just one company, now it's very difficult to see that one startup will sell cells because normally they claim they are technology developer, not cell manufacturer. And I think this let's both profiles will have their role, positive role, but it should be clearly like divided who do what to be successful.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So another snippet supporting Dr. Andre's answer here. So this is again part of the database. So you can see the key companies that are present and active within the solid state battery ecosystem and their products. So a lot of established companies. Then there are QuantumScape, Solid Power, Samsung, LG, and then of course there are private companies like Prologium and Factorial Energy who are coming into place. And when talking about the timeline, we can see, as we discussed just now, that there are a lot of companies which are currently in the research and development phase or in the prototyping phase, and in the next short term, in the next 2 to 3 years, their prototypes are expected to be present, and their investments are expected to be increased. And then 2029, 2028 onwards, at the end of this decade, we can expect many of these companies to start commercializing their products. So now, one thing I wanted to ask again was, you talked about long-term, process, long-term R&D and technology making. So, how do you see the recent breakthroughs in electrolyte materials and manufacturing processes, which are impacting the commercial viability of solid-state batteries in, let's say, the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I think here is very important to mention that good electrolyte is critical. It's key for success of solid-state battery technology, but it's only part. So if we are talking about only electrolyte, it is not enough. So I can have perfect electrolyte, but then scalability is problematic, cost is very high, and then so it will be prohibitive for its using in the cell. Regarding, let's say, recent breakthrough, what we can say that recently in sulfides, I mean, there were like, I mean, if we're talking about last 10 years, it was
Yeah.
several breakthroughs on the development of sulfides, and now we have very good materials with, let's say, suitable for for handling in dry rooms, or at least this claimed. Then we have rising of new classes of electrolytes like halides, etc., that give some promise, at least for cathode side of the cell. Regarding garnet, basically, we don't see a lot of progress. A lot of work is doing, but I cannot say that recently was some progress. Also, we see some movement in sodium-based ceramics and are very good, like Nasicon, etc. But again, with at least to my best knowledge, no breakthrough recently. And if we are talking to polymer-based electrolytes, here one interesting technology that attracts at least my attention is using of in situ polymerization or cross-linking when we basically don't need to produce film of the electrolyte as separate, and we can adapt relatively easy this technology to existing battery plants. And perhaps is the, if we are talking about cost, perhaps is the only the way how solid state cells or semi-solid state cell can be like easily adopted for mass production and mass manufacturing at existing battery facilities. So from, if we are talking about scientific, it's one thing, but if about approach of integration and fabrication of electrolyte, so perhaps these in situ technologies are something that let's say that hold more promise than other aspects in short and let's say mid-term. For example, here at CDTech, we are working a lot on this type of technologies, and we see that scalability is way better comparing with self-standing electrolytes, and especially with ceramic-based electrolytes.
Right, right. I of course agree, and that's a great point, Dr. Andre. And when we are talking about these technologies and of course the investments and the company's long-term plans, so one of the key factors for the growth will be related to government policies and government support. So my next question is, which region or countries, as per your understanding, have the strongest government backing and industrial policies to support such large-scale production and commercialization of solid-state batteries that we are discussing today?
Yeah. Uh, Very good question. Of course, it's Asia.
Mm,
Korea, Japan, and China are leaders in this. If we are talking about government backing, maybe China is the best example, because we saw some announcement of I don't remember, like $800 million program, R&D program on solid state batteries.
mm,
All these countries, they have very like strong government support, like from, we heard from Japan NEDO, and from South Korea also government programs. But also since these countries, they have they have very developed battery manufacturer infrastructure, many players. So of course, industrialization also goes quite fast there, and we see some like, so all tables that you saw, most of them are from these this like far east region. Maybe I forgot to say Taiwan. So there is one company there that recently is
mm,
established that also some had some facilities at Europe. And yeah, but on the other hand, we are European institution here, and what we see that European Commission is giving significant support to solid state battery R&D via Horizon Europe program and But for You partnership. So, and now I don't have this exact values, but believe me, that is some millions of euros invested in the R&D of batteries. For example, CDTech is participating. Now we are participating in 5 solid state battery related Horizon Europe projects. Even one we are proudly coordinating. So then from, let's say, academic and mid-tier levels, so we have huge support from European Commission. However, we should say that in Europe, there is I mean, in terms of industrialization, we are quite far from ideal situation and from, let's say, Asian countries. And I think this part is so here in Europe, we have this clear, and we are trying to go forward. And if, for example, there is a problem with European developers and battery manufacturers, so we see that some Asian players, they are established some like laboratories, or even they have plans to establish gigafactories on solid state. For example, we are talking about France and Prologium in here in Europe, and in this way produce solid state batteries in Europe.
Right. So, talking about government policies, one key aspect in recent times that I can think about is, of course, the tariffs, which are another aspect that is controlled by the government policies here. So, how do you view the recent tariff exchanges between, let's say, the US, China, and Europe? And what effects might these trade policy shifts that we have observed over the past few weeks might have on the global solid state
Yeah,
battery industry?
since solid state battery industry is like kind of it's a little bit behind of the lithium ion battery, so I think impact will be the same or similar. So we don't expect that solid state battery domain, let's say, or field will be affected more than others. In this case, at least from my perspective, I don't see additional problem for solid state battery. But of course, situation is worrying, and it's better that we will agree between all of us as soon as possible.
Right. So, again, for our viewers here, so um, let me just quickly share some data from our solid state battery specific market intelligence report. So, when we talk about the near term future, we can see that there is a surging demand for EV and electronics, and there are factors related to safety and performance. And we talked about government incentives, and we talked about technology breakthroughs. So, all of these factors are contributing markets in the coming years ahead. And when we look at by region, so as per our research, we can estimate that there are countries like China and North America which are leading currently. And in the future, also, they will be leading, and Europe will become much more competitive in this ecosystem. So North America has a very established and growing EV and electronics manufacturing base, uh, and supported by R&D spent by various companies present in the region, and also various policies which are supportive of R&D and supportive of any type of subsidies or uh, support to the private players. And similarly for China, there is a hub for cell production facilities there, which are backed and supported by government policies. So when we look at some of the key government programs for solid state batteries, so of course, Dr. Andre, you mentioned about the European Union based policies that we have. If we look at some of the other regions, we can see that Japan, China, South Korea, then US, they all have these policies that are supported by is to increase the development of solid state battery and its ecosystem. So certainly all of these type of programs have helped in the recent years and will continue to help with the millions and billions of dollars of investment and funding for various projects for the growth of solid state battery. Now, one of the factors when we see for the growth is, of course, reaching to a price parity
Yeah.
uh, to the current lithium-ion battery usage. So, given the heavy investments from venture capital firms, OEMs, and governments, as we discussed, uh, do you see a clear timeline for when solid-state batteries will achieve cost parity with lithium-ion batteries?
It's difficult to say. I don't want to speculate on this topic because we saw in past many like overpromise, etc. I think in terms of cost per ampere hour, I think it's difficult that solid state batteries will be cheaper than, let's say, lithium ion batteries
Mhm.
due to many reasons. First of all, the additional cost of electrolyte, etc. But perhaps in 10, 15 years, we can have a situation when per watt hour per kilogram, solid state battery will be, so in terms of watt hour per kilogram, they will be cheaper comparing to lithium ion, because if we target increasing of energy density and lithium ion technology is, let's say, if we are not talking about pure silicon, so it's like 300, around a bit more, but so the claim for solid state batteries is 400 and more. So perhaps this is the chance of solid state batteries to have uh, higher cost, let's say a lower cost or similar cost in terms of per watt hour per kilogram. Yeah? And another point is that if, for example, solid state batteries will bring not only energy density but durability, better durability, and what is the most important is safety. Safety, what does it mean? That we will make, for example, battery module or battery pack at car uh, not so heavy and maybe cheaper. So finally, the cost of, let's say, the final product of the car or drone or whatever may be like comparable, but because we have more energy density cell, even this cell is slightly expensive, yeah, but then overall cost of device or vehicle will be similar or even lower, because due to better safety or enhanced safety of solids that offer solid state batteries compared with lithium metal, we can make saving not at cell level but at system level and at, let's say, device level. And this is one of the motivation of OEMs that they claim over last 10 years, that they are not only looking for cheaper cell, but they are looking for safer cell that can simplify the vehicle.
Sure. And when we talk about the stakeholders within this ecosystem, so of course, you talked about how eventually there would be a price parity, but involvement of these stakeholders is very crucial. So, what role will, let's say, strategic partnerships or collaborations between stakeholders such as automakers, battery companies, and material suppliers play in accelerating the adoption of solid state batteries?
Yeah. I think it's crucial, important, because from my experience, I know sometimes we develop some battery technologies from general point of view. So we want to make like so it's try to squeeze out from the technology the maximum. But maybe some features or some KPIs that we reached are not so important for end user, and maybe the others are more important. So that's why. So for it's very important to maintain this, let's say, vertically structured company, let's say, style, no, and not only control development of technology, but also start from raw materials. Now we see a lot of restrictions on raw materials because, for example, natural graphite, some problems with lithium supply. Then next step is how to produce battery materials, because depend on type of material, it could be IP factor very important, or like patent wars we observe recently, and it's a very big problem. Then when we manufacture battery, who will buy these batteries, no? And then we need assure users. And what we see that many countries, they at government level, they do some efforts to assure this, let's say, raw material, battery materials, battery manufacturer and users, no, the chain. But also we see some companies, they want to control fabricate, so they want to control raw materials, they want to control battery manufacturer, and even sometimes battery materials manufacturing. So we see that some like joint stories or joint companies like Volkswagen Group, PowerCo. We see Renault and Ampere. We see some very close connection in Korea between some battery manufacturer and their fabrication. And USA also we see some strategic alliances, and this is why, because otherwise it's very difficult to be competitive and come to mass production. And in solid state batteries is the same, so but more challenge. So then more need of this, in my opinion.
I completely agree with your point. So, again, to our viewers today, so when we track all the major partnerships, collaborations within the solid state ecosystem, we can see, as Dr. Andre mentioned, there are OEMs who are collaborating directly with manufacturers for development of these. So there has been developments between Volkswagen and QuantumScape with 200 million plus investment. Similarly, between BMW and Solid Power, and so on. So yes, I completely agree with the point about Kosh related growth. And interestingly, you mentioned about raw materials and the problems with it, procurement problems with it. So, how will global supply chain constraints, especially for lithium and rare materials, impact the commercial rollout of solid state batteries? And could these batteries help reduce any type of geopolitical risks in the supply chain?
Um, Regarding first part, I think no supply chain, no production. So it's clear. Even I already commented about lithium metal possibility. So here, what we can, I mean, in my opinion, solid state batteries are more, let's say, dense in material sense. So all what we observe for lithium metals, oh, sorry, for lithium ion batteries will be the same, even, let's say, more like significant problem for solid state batteries. So, and if we are continue like we are continuing, but for example, if you want to reduce some risks on supply chain, etc. So one possibility is development of battery technologies based on more abundant materials. For example, sodium, potassium are based with, for example, LFP cathode, etc. And also rising star of the battery technologies, and in particular solid state batteries, is so-called anode-free materials. When we in situ form lithium metal or sodium metal anode, in this case, we instead of having like three small supply chains, we cut one because we don't need, let's say, active material, and we generate it or take advantage of lithium or sodium that is we have in cathode active material and use directly. So then, in this way, we can try to reduce use so-called critical raw materials, as much as possible. But and for example, again talking about ceramic solid state electrolyte, etc. For example, some of them they contain zirconium or lanthanum, and not all these materials are easily available, or germanium, etc. So then, when we think about like from moving from academic to technology, academic research to technology development, we should take into account not only interest or scientific, let's say, potential of technology, but also how it will affect at the end of value chain, yeah, so during mass
Right.
production. And yeah, I'm personally very like enthusiastic about anode-free batteries because it's like very elegant solution that we can significantly reduce dependence on at least on lithium metal.
Right. Sure. That's a very interesting point. Uh, so at this point, I would like to ask the audience that if you have any questions, please do drop them in the comment box, and we will ask them to Dr. Andre today at the end of the discussion. Meanwhile, moving on, so connecting with our earlier discussion on the key challenges, so you mentioned several challenges. So, in your opinion, what are the principal obstacles to scaling solid state battery production from pilot to with respect to securing and integrating high precision cell fabrication equipment?
Yeah. One of the main, let's say, problem is maturity of technologies. So then, because let's say unresponsible scale up or very fast scale up of technology from, I don't know, few ampere hour cell size to 50 ampere hour, it's very dangerous. And sometimes all this, let's say, transfer for scaling from lab to pilot level or even close to pre-mass production, like sample A, B, etc. So it could be a big problem because technology is not mature. And the question of maturity is not that I have a lot of experiment, but also some years of development, and because safety is the first. No?
Yeah.
And of course, when we're talking about new technologies like solid state batteries, etc., we need to always think about equipment because, for example, one simple example, stacking of, if we are talking about pouch cell or cylindrical cell. Normally in lithium-ion batteries and sodium-ion batteries, what we have is rolls of electrodes, roll of separator, and all these, there are like special machinery that for winding, for stacking, and all this developed for this type of electrodes. When we move to solid state batteries, for example, if we are talking about lithium metal, so how to pick and place lithium. So it's very difficult because lithium is a very soft material, and you need to invest significant efforts in order to develop equipment that can work with lithium without damaging. Because, as I always say, lithium does not forgive anything because of its nature of high reactivity, and it's very soft. Same story with lithium metal. So then for self-standing solid electrolyte films, we need to adapt because these materials are not like something that we are used to use in lithium-ion technology, separators that have very good mechanical properties, electrodes, etc. So then development and manufacturing of high precision cell equipment, like to handle such specific materials or cell components, is crucial. And what we see, at least in public domain, that some startups that are very advanced in, for example, lithium metal batteries or other type of batteries, they had to partner, make like join, have like very close collaboration with battery equipment manufacturers in order to be able to scale up until like 100 ampere hour or 80 ampere hour cells. Otherwise, you should do it manually, and it is not the way to demonstrate that your technology is scalable.
Right. So, as a quick follow up, the suggestions that you've made. So, do you currently see any company or any let's say region, companies in a certain region doing all of these, and that, because that will be a key factor for that particular region or that group of companies to be leading, in the future.
Um,
So, as per your observance, have you seen such suggestions actually being implemented as of
Yeah, we
now?
have in Europe several companies working on this. But
Okay.
as I mentioned this many times, this company they are bonded by non-disclosure agreements because they have developed this equipment
Yeah.
especially for one cell manufacturing, and this is actually the one of the, let's say, super critical things that are not in public domain. So because one thing is that materials formulations, but then how, let's say, know how to assemble cell, how to pick up lithium, is a very simple example, and do it fast and without damage. It's something that is, I think, it's very confidential, and we know that some companies they have solutions, but it's very difficult to get if you are not, like, say, big, very big company. And I think some companies they decide to develop the equipment in collaboration with corresponding companies, but because the market is very difficult to buy. And even what I can say more that manufacturing equipment is something that always need attention. So then it's not something that you, like TV, you bought and you use. No, it's always need like technical service and always improvement. And I think it's one of the part, and battery manufacturers they know this, that you should always invest in equipment. Otherwise, a competitor will be ahead of you.
Sure, sure. So, of course, this is very interesting point you have raised. So at this point, these were the questions that from my side I had for you. So, Dr. Andre, do you have anything more to share about your organization, or if you want to present something related to Cidatech's developments on solid state battery quickly?
Yeah, I can, if there is a possibility, I can briefly present what is CDTech energy storage, and I
Sure.
want to share. So let me open, so 1 second. So if I share here, can you see my screen? Yeah,
Yes, it's visible.
so very few words about what who we are and what is Cititech Energy Storage. So basically, we are a research and technological organization located, non-profit company located in at the north of Spain in Basque Country. We are composed by three centers: Cititech Surface Engineering, Nanomedicine, and Energy Storage. Now. So recently, I'm sitting in new building. So we just moved to this building a few months ago, and now we are like just one let's say figure for imagination. We have a 500 square meter dry room. So in total, we have several dry room, but overall area of this dry room is around 500 square meter. So our let's say slogan is from powder to power. So then what we are doing is R&D for advanced battery technologies, and our mission is to bridge the gap between research and industry. And we are developing an implementation, some technological solution with high added value, and one of these, let's say, domain is solid state batteries. Okay, so yeah. Uh, Here is a position, our position in battery value chain. So we are not working with raw materials, but we are very much involved in the battery materials, characterization and development. We are working with on cell manufacturer. Uh, Even we have a CD cell company that is spin-off that are dedicated to production of series of special electrodes and cells. Then we are covering battery pack development and unrelated. Here also we have one spin-off company. In applications, we are working in electromobility and stationary storage. And we have also one spin-off company, Lanso Batteries, that are developing battery solution for aerospace application. And also we are thinking about end of life, and here we are working on second life of batteries, recycling, and also on circular economy. We have software, own software platform Proteo that we are covering, let's say, all value chain, so we can related to data treatment, modeling, simulation, and cell development. And also we have, let's say, quite impressive, probably one of the biggest in Europe testing facilities within mobile platform. In energy storage, we are 150. We are very multicultural and multidisciplinary team. We are divided in 3 units. I belong to materials for energy unit. We are here 100 person about, and we are divided in different type of in different teams. Advanced lithium-ion, new battery technologies, solid-state batteries, lithium prototyping, modeling postmortem, and manufacturing. So I am leading solid-state battery team. Also, we have storage system unit that are working on system level. So we are working until cells. They are working starting from cells. And also we have battery testing unit that are what I commented is the top level in EU. Our income is roughly 60% comes from industry contracts. We have 20% of European funds, what I commented from Horizon Europe and other program. And we have regional from Basque government and also national from Spanish government funding. Yeah. If we are talking about like more close to domain of solid state batteries, so what we are doing and our DNA, let's say, it's cell development. So we are developing different type of cells, and one of the technology that we are really betting and we consider that it could be a game changer is solid state battery. Within solid state batteries, we are very focused on currently on lithium chemistry. We are working with solid state, all solid state, semi-solid state, and other aspects and materials related to the topic. So if you have a particular question about solid state batteries, R&D or other aspects of our activity in batteries, please feel free to write me in LinkedIn and let's say put in contact with me, and I will try to answer you as soon as possible. Okay. So this is very briefly what we are doing.
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe.
Sure. So thank you for telling us in a bit more detail about your organization's involvement in the ecosystem. Before we conclude, quickly, if you can answer, a question we have from the audience. So we have a question related to what impact could solid-state batteries have on battery recycling ecosystem which are related to the battery ecosystem?
Regarding good question, and we start to think and we start to see, even we are participating in some projects that are solid state battery projects that are dealing with recycling, and what we see that is not easy task. Yeah? Because first, in order to recycle, you need to separate components, and in solid state batteries, what we want is good contact between components. So then, if if during cell manufacturing you compact the cell too much, then if you want to disassemble at the end of life, it will be a problem. And now we are trying, and community also trying to find solution. It's not easy, but we saw some announcement from big companies that they are like managed to, for example, recycle lithium metal and got lithium metal back and to the manufacturing cycle. So let's say it's challenging, but possible. Regarding sustainability efforts, again, what I was commented, in principle, solid state battery cells are more dense compared with lithium metal because of
Mm.
electrolyte, more lithium inside, more other metals inside. And what we need to work here is increase durability. So let's say, or shelf life, no? But also try to move to systems that are, let's say, less dependent on let's say supply chain. And one of possibilities anode free cells. And what we see that probably the only anode free cells with solid electrolytes or somehow solidified or semi-solid electrolytes have chance to prosper. So then in this case, probably anode free could be one of the points beneficial for sustainability of solid state batteries.
Sure, that's a really good point and interesting. So, all right. So, thank you for your incredible engagement throughout this session. Uh, we have received some fantastic insights from you today, and it has been a truly insightful discussion. And I believe we have only scratched the surface of what's happening in the solid state battery ecosystem. And with the right uh, infrastructure, policies, and development strategies by the companies, it can surely have the potential to lead in the battery space. So, thank you again for your time today, Dr. Andre.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And again, let's stay in touch.
Right. So, thank you everyone who joined us in the audience today for the second episode of Tech-novation by BIS Research. Hope you found the conversation uh, and the insights from Dr. Andre and from our dedicated solid state battery related market intelligence report insightful. So be sure to stay tuned for next month's episode, where we will dive into another cutting edge topic with a leader as experienced as Dr. Andre, who's pushing boundaries in the world of innovation. So take care, and we will see you then. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.